If your life was a movie and the audience were watching all the way up to this point, what would they be screaming at the TV? Maybe they'll be yelling, "Go for it," or "Take the chance." Hello, I'm Milan, and I believe we all have a moment where we decide whether to play it safe or take our wings and fly. And before I start, I want to tell you about the story of Icarus. The story of Icarus is a Greek mythology about Icarus, the son of a brilliant inventor who were both imprisoned on an island. To escape, the inventor crafted wings made of wax and feathers. Before they took off, the inventor warned his son, "Don't fly too high, or the sun will melt the wax. And don't fly too low, or the sea will drown you." But once Icarus took flight, he wanted to know what it meant to fly and be free. So he flew towards the sun, and his wings melted. His feathers came apart. At last, he fell. But even in the act of falling, he laughed. This story has been remembered as a lesson against pride and ambition. But what if the real lesson had been about playing it too safe and never feeling the sensation of being free? Maybe sometimes the greatest danger isn't about flying too high, but never daring to fly at all. Studies show that people fear regret more than failure, and yet they still avoid risk, even when regret lasts longer. And I know this because I've lived it. I've always had a chatterbox personality. Speaking came naturally to me, and expressing myself through words felt fulfilling. It felt like home. But at the same time, I carried another version inside me, the engineer personality. Not the type that builds buildings or design machines, but the type that builds frames around herself. Those frames were meant to keep me safe, and we often called this the comfort zone. It protected me from failure, from being judged, and most importantly, from a world that changes faster than our hearts. And for a long time, I truly believed that those frames were protecting me. I first heard the phrase, "You'll never know unless you try," in elementary school. It was from my mom. That year, my school announced a speech contest, and immediately, the engineer version inside me showed up. Standing on stage, being judged, measured, ranked, that didn't sound like growth. That sounded like danger. But she kept asking me one simple question: "Why don't you try?" So eventually, like the great daughter I am, I signed up. I still can remember that first year, standing backstage, my hands were gripping the script so tightly that they were shaking. My heart was beating so fast, I thought I had tachycardia. My lips were dried, and my thoughts were loud. Why did you do this to yourself? You know you can still walk away. Because even though speaking was my specialty, speaking in front of hundreds of people wasn't. And for the first moment that I stepped onto that stage, the lights were blinding, and the room went completely silent, just like this exact moment. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. But with a shaky voice, I finally let out a "Hello, I'm Milan," and the rest is history. My mind went blank, and I went on autopilot. Luckily, all those practices paid off, because I was able to finish my speech, but at what cost? And when the results were announced, congratulations to Milan, 3rd place. Not first, not second, 3rd. I wasn't mad, nor was I happy. The feeling of expressing myself on stage was still buzzing in my head. There were only feelings of confusion. But something changed that day. I guess I realized that there was somewhat potential inside me. Getting third place, first try at the age of 6, is no joke. And people who I knew started congratulating me. And that gave me a sense of accomplishment. So when the next year came, of course, I signed up. But this time with a goal, higher than before. This time, it wasn't just curiosity pushing me forward. It was an expectation. Expectation from teachers, expectation from classmates, and suddenly, expectations from myself. Because once people tell you that you're good at this, you start believing that you have something to prove. So I practiced more. I rewrote my script, and I imagined the stage even before I stepped on it. I told myself, this is the year that I move up. And when the day came, I stepped onto that stage with the same shaking hands, but this time with confidence layered over fear. And when the results were announced, congratulations to Milan, third place, again. I laughed it off. I told myself, hey, progress isn't always visible. But deep down, something felt different. The second time didn't sting like the first. It lingers. By the third year, the contest was heavy. I wasn't just participating. I was defending an identity. I was the kid who was good at speaking. And when that's the label that you wear, losing feels personal. I practiced harder than ever. I spoke until my voice hurt, and I rewrote lines I have already rewritten 100 times. Because this wasn't about just winning anymore. It was about not disappointing everyone, including myself. I stepped onto that stage, and once I walked down, I expected more. I wanted to fulfill what I missed in the past 2 years. 3 times a charm, right? And when the results were announced, I held my breath. Congratulations to Milan, third place. That's when doubt stopped whispering and started shouting. What if I'm not good enough? What if I just got lucky the first time? What if this thing that I thought defined me doesn't? This was my Icarus moment. I had flown as high as I knew how. I had chased the sun with everything I had. And instead of being rewarded, I burned. I wanted to quit, not just the competition, but the dream itself. But luckily, with the help of my friends and family negotiation skills, I didn't quit that year. But I thought about it a lot. And when the next year came, it was my final year at that school, my last chance for that victory. I felt tired. Tired of hoping, tired of explaining, and tired of pretending like third place didn't hurt. But my mom asked me one simple question she always had. Why don't you try one last time? She told me, this will be your year. And somehow, that sentence gave me hope. Hope is often a powerful drive, but it also raises high expectations. This time, I didn't just want it to do better. I needed to. Not for the trophy, but for closure. I stepped onto that stage knowing one thing for sure. If I ended up in third place again, I don't know if I can come back from it. And let me pause this story for a moment before we announce the winner. Along those 4 years, I had realized an important lesson. Sometimes, effort doesn't change the result. It changes the person who survives the results. So I stepped onto that stage and spoke with everything I had left. Not to win, not to impress, but because this truly mattered to me. And when the results were announced, congratulations to Milan, third place. Believe it or not, I probably made history, getting the same award 4 years in a row. But I didn't feel crushed. I felt the opposite. I felt clear. Because I understand now that success doesn't look like what you've always imagined. Sometimes what you get isn't the trophy. It's courage. It's the version of yourself who didn't walk away. Because honestly today, I don't remember who got first place, I don't remember the rankings, and I don't remember the applause. But what I remember is this. Every time I went onto that stage, I learned how to stood a little straighter, spoke a little clearer, and learned how to be present even when fear was loud. I thought I was competing for an award, but what I was really building all along was courage. And that courage followed me far beyond that stage. It reshaped a part of me that once built frames into doors. It opened paths I've never imagined before. Becoming a speaker, a leader, a president, and standing here today on TEDxSiriraj stage. All of that didn't come from winning. It came from refusing to walk away. And I'm proud to say that I have failed 4 more times than I've ever won. Because failing brought me closer to the person that I am now. And without those moments, I wouldn't be standing here today. So now, I want you, the audience, to think back to the first time that you rode a bike without training wheels. Before you even moved, someone had to let go. And at first, the ground felt too far away. Your balance felt familiar. You wobbled, you lost control, and eventually you fell. Your knees were scraped, your hands were dirtied. Maybe you cried. But the important part is you didn't stay there. You got up, brushed it off, and tried again. Because back then, failing wasn't scary. It was simply seen as a part of moving forward. Somewhere along the way, we forget that. As we grow older, we stop asking, what can this teach me? And instead ask, how would this make me look? Denzel Washington once said, to get something you never had, you must do something you never did. Because imagine waking up one day and realizing the potential you once had. Not because you failed, but because you never tried. Yes, bruises and scratches from failing hurts, but the burning pain from the regret of never trying leaves a bigger scar. Regret haunts you with the what ifs. What if I had tried? What if I had started? What if I had taken the chance? Because at least when you fail, you get to walk away with a lesson of a lifetime saying, I tried, instead of spending the rest of your life wondering about what could have been. We are taught to wait until we feel ready to start. But readiness doesn't arrive on its own. It's created through action. So the question isn't, what if I fail? The real question is, what if I never begin? And now, before I end, I don't want you to just listen to my story and walk away unchanged. I want to give you something simple, and I call this the one-step rule. Don't say it out loud, but think of the first thing that you've been putting off. It might be a dream, a conversation, a project, or a version of yourself that you kept delaying. Now ask yourself this. What is one small step that I can take? Not this week, not next month or next year, but today. Not to win, not to be perfect, just to simply begin. For me, that step was stepping onto a stage, even when my voice shook. It didn't give me first place, but it gave me courage. And that courage brought me to where I am today. So chase the version of yourself you know you can become. the version you just thought of right this very moment. Shoes to fly, even if you fall. At least you'll never wonder how far you could have gone. Thank you.